One, thank you. Everyone who was tuned in, thank you for your patience. Thank you for the positive vibes that Dr. Erica Taylor and I are receiving because we didn't know what was going on. But we rolling with it. It is now 7:30. We are hoping and praying that you are staying in tune. Um, if you have other people who you know that will be viewing or coming on, please let them know to come on the YouTube channel, which is Hot Mic with Lady She Podcast, and or my Facebook page, and or Erica's Facebook page, where she is sharing this live. So once again, thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Erica Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Let's
Wonderful.
get a
Holy Spirit activate. Amen. That's what we're dealing with tonight. We dealing with positive energy and we dealing with keeping it moving kind of energy. Amen. All right. So let me just jump in. Um, you can introduce yourself to those who may not know you. I'll be asking you a bunch of questions very soon, but you can introduce yourself as you see fit.
Ooh, Lord, I see. so,
It's a hot mic.
so I'm Dr. Erica Taylor. I'm here on Long Island. I grew up in Hempstead, New York. Proud Tiger. I have
Woo! Go
children.
Tigers.
One that is who plays college football and attends Ohio University, and a beautiful 10-year-old princess who is my mini me. So y'all pray for me. Um, and
I love it. All right. So let me just jump in. So you said you're from Hempstead, Long Island. You're a mother of two, and you now hold connection issue. Stand by. Oh boy, I hope this thing does not click off on us. It's giving me messages.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, just sent me a message. It's fine. All right. So tell us about your growing up environment, about your childhood. Do you have siblings? Let's tap into that first.
So I am the eldest of five children. My now was a preacher, evangelist slash missionary slash pastor slash no, but so I grew up in a Christian, strict household, and I grew
Okay.
up outside. Um, so I grew up in a Christian, or in Brooklyn. Well, I was raised in Hempstead, but I am the oldest of five.
All right. I love it. So now, being the eldest of five, being raised in a Christian home, and so you grew up on Parkside, right?
I,
Or was it the Hills? Because those two different things.
oh no, it was Parkside. I
Okay. So now explain to the people what's the difference between Parkside and the Hills.
I grew up in what was they actually tore them down and rebuilt, but I grew up in what we called my family from Brooklyn would laugh because they're like projects. You only had 3 stories and you had grass,
Right, right. And you add grass. Yes.
grass trees. But we did call it the project. One Laurel Avenue,
Mhm.
and it was an interesting place. I think with my parents raising us in a strict environment, it kind of kept me out of a lot of trouble that I could have got. But that I was a fighter. I elementary school, middle
Mhm.
school, high school. I didn't. It wasn't a lot of talking. I was going to do it. Um, so it was interesting, but a lot of the trouble that I could have gotten into, I do have to owe it all to my parents and their strict upbringing. I did not get.
Mhm. Okay. So
Um,
go ahead.
mhm. But
Go ahead.
some of my best memories, was I was also
Right.
called. I don't remember her, but Mother Brown. They called it Mother Brown's house, and that was one of my great great aunts. And we were called brown kids, so all of us that grew up Parkside, who was or who she helped raise along with my grandma Sarah. And like I said, some of
Oh,
my
wow.
best memories, my worst memories, was on Parkside, but it definitely taught me a lot, and it taught me how to navigate through the life that I now live.
Right. Love that. Love that. Love that. So, thinking back on your childhood, because, it was only three of us. So when I think about people with over three for siblings, I'm like, it must have been a lot going on in the house. Like, it had to be like a lot going on in the house. Like, what
Well,
do you mean
it's
when
funny.
go ahead.
I would say my mother would always say, if you could have three, you could have five. So that's why I stopped at two.
The fact. Well, okay. But like, when people say I grew up in a strict household, what is that? What exactly does that mean? Because, having a preacher for a father, an evangelist for a mom, strict could have been strict to us would mean like you gotta be home by the time the lights is on, the 7 o'clock, the lights come on at 7. You know what I'm saying? The street lights. What do you mean when you say strict?
Yeah. Well, strict meant basically I wasn't going anywhere but my home and Mother Brown's house. That was number one. I definitely had to
Right.
be upstairs when the street was on. And there was
Right,
a
right.
little, if anybody knows Parkside and they know the flagpole there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So basically it was, you can sit, don't you go. There was no going to the, so that's when I
Mm-hmm.
meant strict. Friends, I think the only friend my mother over, I think, was Post, if anybody remember Charlene, and if a white girl Angela, and the rest of my cousins,
Right, 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 right.
my cousin Patrice,
Right, right, right.
and then there was no boyfriends that she knew of,
Right.
before college. Um,
Right.
I think she just let Al West, according to her, that was just it. So and I went to church of the week. Thursday nights went to
Wait, how many
church.
times a week?
Tuesday night, uh, I want to say we went to church probably 3, 4 times a week, unless mom was,
Wow.
absolutely, yeah.
All right. And so what religion is this? Or was this?
We're a Christian, Pentecostal,
Mhm. Oh, you are Pentecostal. Okay. All right.
um,
Well, no, certain
Church of
denominations is
Christ.
different. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Amen. All right. All right. So five, you're the six siblings. So you grew up in a home with your mother and your dad. Now,
Hmm.
being from Hempstead, a lot of us come from single parent homes. Do you feel that even with the friends that you did have, that you could tell the difference between the environments between you and them?
I could, but I will say I don't know how much of that necessarily was growing up in a single household or growing up in a Christian household, and a stricter environment.
Right.
Because I do, I can't. My mom was the backbone, you know, of the house. If she had to do it on her own, the results would have possibly been the same. With
Mm-hmm.
how we were raised, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but I think it's the
Okay.
values and the morals that went along with having two parents. Having two parents,
Right.
and I have friends that had two parents, but both of them were on drugs, or one was on drugs and the
Right.
parent wasn't. And, so I don't think it's necessarily the two household. And it's a beautiful thing, don't get me wrong, to grow up in a home with,
Right. Right.
but I think it's more of the values that they teach you and the life that they
Gotcha.
in front of you, because, that whole, do as I say, not as I do, that doesn't work.
Right? You
So
gotta say that.
I say that the woman that I became is because of the woman that I saw. So I
Ooh, say that. I love that. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So what made you go into the education field? Tell the people your education background and how long you've been an educator. And what made you go into education?
all right. So I've been an educator for 20. I graduated from Hempstead High School at 16. Because my mother wouldn't let me go anywhere else. Although I got accepted to Spelman, or I can name a few, but she wouldn't let me go because I was 16.
Mhm.
So I went to CW Post,
Right.
and it's interesting. I actually first majored in international business.
Mhm.
I just had this vision was going to be a corporate attorney. I saw myself going across the bridge and all the lights. I love lights. With my son, my briefcase, my suit. I just saw it like I could see it. And so
Yeah.
I enrolled at CW Post for international business. And
Okay.
two things happened. I took a poli sci class, maybe two,
Hmm.
and there were about 200 us, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't it.
This ain't it.
And and at Post, they had requirements for language. So I already spoke two, which was English and Ebonics, very well. Um, the others, was a bit difficult. So
Right.
um, that was one thing. And then I remember being in and the professor said something to me that um, amazed me, especially coming from Hempstead, where even, although I was 16 and graduated early, I still graduated within the top 10 of my class. So this professor,
Right.
she pulled me to the side one day and she said, listen, I wish you wrote as well as you spoke.
Oh.
I wish you wrote as well as you speak, excuse me. And and I'm like, what do you mean? I had Mr. Phillips. I could write. I could, in
I
my
know that's a
head.
fact. Excuse me.
And she sat down with me and she would work with me and we would go through the mechanics of it all. And she would look at me in amazement and say, I can't believe you don't know this about the mechanics
Right.
of writing.
Ooh, come on,
And I'm
Erica.
looking at her, and each time
Hmm.
I'm embarrassed. And
Right.
a few would say, and what school district did you attend? And I was just like, oh my God. So what is this?
Yep.
And the realization came in that although I was an academic superstar in that, when you add all of these other districts and students to the mix, whether it's from the boroughs or Suffolk County, Nassau County, I really wasn't performing how I should have been performing going into college.
How you right, right,
And
right. I got you.
yeah, and at that point, I said, I could be the change. I could be
I
I
love it.
way things happen. So interestingly enough, I in history, education, and I minor in sociology. There's just something about people and experiences and things that I love.
It's a gift. It's a gift.
It's time for me to student teach. And
Hmm.
so you wouldn't believe my excitement. I sit down with my advisor, and my advisor's like, okay, so what are your thoughts? Like, where would you want to student teach? The advisor gave me a list, and I'm like, oh, Hempstead's not on here. So I said to her, I want to student teach at Hempstead.
Ooh.
She looks at me, she
Hmm.
says, oh, no, that's not on my list. And I said, no, 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 no. I know people. You know, for years I worked for Don in his office. The work study, and I did all. And I'm like, no.
Divine connections.
So I called and I said, can you get a meeting with the superintendent? Because I really want a student teach in Hempstead. So of course it was, yeah, yeah, yeah. I get the meeting. I won't mention who was the superintendent at that time, but it was a female whom I
Okay.
actually I would deliver her mail to her and her paychecks to the kids that were in the work study working in her office. So she knew me well, and I stepped
Right.
small talk, and then I said to her, I said, "Listen, I really want do my student teaching here this fall." And she stopped me in my tracks and she says, "Why should I allow you to student teach here?" And I was confused and I said, "Well, because I'm a product of the environment." And her answer to me was, "CW Post never sends anyone to Hempstead. So why should you be the first? Why should I?" So I said to her, I said, "Well, respectfully, because I'm a product, and I went through this whole thing with her, and she gave me basically the it's not you, it's them answer.
Ooh.
Just
Oh boy.
like it, but um, they're never gonna send anybody else. So she penalized me for a system that I didn't create. But I will tell you something, as reflect on that. It's always kind of like the but God, right? And so
Yeah.
I was really upset about that. And I couldn't understand, but I understand today, and I
Yeah.
understand from listening to some of your other podcasts from other people that are in hence don't understand why where we have roots, right? That we're not growing. It's because we're not being watered, right? And so,
Say that.
and with that denial was my opportunity to opportunity to grow. And so although I wasn't allowed to student teach there, it was a blessing in disguise. You know,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because even when I was listening the other day and you had Bird on, some of the things he discussed, it hit home. We have some
Yeah.
Hempstead sitting right underneath our
Yeah.
nose, but we don't, and we allow take to take their expertise and take what they can offer to somewhere else. Like right now, I'm in
Mhm.
a neighboring community, a neighboring school district that is thriving, and there's
Right.
a reason why Hempstead could not thrive like this neighboring district. But we allow the politics of it all
Hmm.
and to determine the generation after us their success. And
Right.
please shame on them.
Yeah. Absolutely, Erica. Absolutely. Ooh, that was a lot. Ooh, my God. What's ooh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Listen. I was gonna ask you, please explain what is a servant leader?
All right. So you have your traditional leader that basically leads for their purpose, their goals, to get to an endpoint. A servant leader is someone that's there to make sure that the people that they are leading grow,
Mm,
right? So there's a goal and there is an end goal. However, but for me, it's not the goal and it's not achieving the growing as we're going along the way,
right.
right? So I make myself available to the people I lead. I have an open door policy. There is no I'm up here on this totem pole and you're down
Mhm. Okay.
here. You know, the same respect that I give. I give my janitors, my secretaries, my copy guy, my everybody,
Right.
my aides, my monitor. My goal and my job is to make sure that people grow and that they have their individual. So the organization has a goal, but I need people to have
Mm-hmm.
an individual goal. Where do you?
Yes.
This can't be your last stop. You know,
Yeah.
your last stop, right? If you made up in your mind, 'cause that growth mindset, and you made up in your mind, this is where I level. Then you might like being on that level, but how do you explore new things? How do you
Right.
action the application of it all? So for me, that's what.
I love it. I love it. So, all right, that meeting is got some stuff going on with me in the spirit right now. Um, because you hear the stories of amazing people. Everyone who has so-called been who are so-called successful, or has progressed to a certain place that people are inspired. They all have a story where
Mhm,
someone said something to them that could have destroyed them
mhm.
or hindered them, but they went beyond that thing. So when in that moment, you know did it really give you a flash of how so much of the negativity that's happening in Hempstead had it kind of made sense because of her response?
At that moment, at my 20-year-old self, um, it didn't. Right now,
Mm,
42, it does.
mm.
At the age of 20, all I could remember is thinking success is your best revenge.
Say it.
And that has always been my motivation in everything that I've done. And so when people would say, you couldn't do something, or, oh my gosh, you had a baby your last year in college. What are you going to do? Are you going to graduate? It was like, bam, am I
Of
going
course I am.
to graduate, get two masters and a doctorate? How about
Boop.
always it from the place of success? That moment, that's what I was thinking. Now, my 42-year-old self is thinking that no one else should have to get that denial or that rejection for a
That's
system
the one.
not create. You
That's
know,
it.
um, hold on, my phone. I need a charger. Give me two.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No,
So
you're good. You're good.
my 42-year-old self thinks about it a little differently, and I have people in the educational um, realm that say to me all the time, will you consider ever going back to Hempstead? And and honestly, I think that, and this does not come up from a place of conceit. However, I do feel Hempstead deserve me.
Yeah. That's not conceit, honey.
And so,
That's revelation.
yeah, and so um, as a superintendent, absolutely. Would it probably be within a 7 to 5 year before retirement? Absolutely. Because one thing about a system, and when you're a change agent, you know, it's about going into the school, it's about getting right. And so
Right.
that needs to be done is work that is tiresome, and it's work that may have many sleepless nights, so
Right.
it's work that can send you um to a place where you're drained, and you're spent and you have nothing left. And so I feel like to be the change agent that is needed, I have to be at a point where when I am done, I am done,
Mm-hmm.
you
Good for
know.
you.
So
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh, I love this. I'm so proud of you. I'm
I'm
so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Like I'm trying not to cry, child. Like I'm so proud of you. God is amazing. He is amazing. And woo, if Hempstead had you, honey, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm telling you, because I can feel the energy. I can feel the energy. And like I said, there's so many who have stories. And like I said to Bird, I said, I'm watching so many of us from Hempstead go to other places and become pillars in their communities, are doing things that others are not able to do in their states, in their communities. And I'm like, something's going on. Something is going on. What is it?
yeah.
All right. So, um, child, you just kind of threw me. You just kind of threw me. God is so amazing. I don't know what's going to happen after this podcast, but I feel like something's going to happen. And I feel like that's why we had all the confusion we had.
We said it, didn't we?
Amen. Amen. Okay. Amen. I feel like something is brewing. Thank you so much for being transparent. Um, thank you for your story. Thank you for your story. Pushing through college, like you said, being pregnant and, you know, you can look back on your life and say, oh, I grew up in the projects, I was in a strict home, I did this is this, but you was like, success is my revenge. What else do you feel like, is your purpose? And when did you realize this thing?
Sorry. So my purpose, let me start off with the realization. So what happened was, when I became a supervisor of a department, I want to say after year 5 of teaching, which
Okay.
back then was, it just didn't happen, right? And then I quickly moved up.
Hmm.
So, by year 7, I was a district. And I
Right.
remember one day going to um, a meeting of women in administration. And I had been tussling with the fact I was in a school district that I absolutely, absolutely loved. I was literally like the mayor of the community. I loved the community. I loved it. It literally reminded me, and I could say the district. It was Amityville. It literally reminded me of a mini Hempstead, right?
Hmm.
And but I wasn't growing, and I remember going to this meeting, and I stood up and I said to my one of the women that I actually look up to. Her name is Lorna Lewis, and she's a superintendent on Long Island, African American woman. And I said to her, I said, how do you know when it's time to move on? I'm attached to my community. I love the children. I love the family. And she simply said, baby, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them.
Well,
And she said, what is your purpose? Once you figure out what your purpose is, you'll figure out when it's time to go
right,
and to live in that purpose.
right.
So we fast forward, I go to the district that I'm in now, and I'm still wondering, like, what is my purpose? Okay, I left there to come here. I love the coins, yeah, but I'm growing, absolutely growing as an administrator, but what is it? And then they gave me my first administrative intern. And, it was interesting because I became an AP at 28.
Hmm.
And so most of the people that I was leading,
Assistant principal. She became an assistant principal.
yes, sorry, most of the people that I was leading were much older than I was. And, so when I got this intern, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to teach this person?
Come on, God.
What do I know? And year after year, I would get another intern. I would get another intern. And all of them would say the same thing to me. And they would say, if it wasn't for you, I
Woo.
would not have grown. If it wasn't for you, and if it wasn't for your leadership, lead, and would constantly hear this. And it became a reality to me that my purpose is to grow people,
Ooh.
because it doesn't make sense for anyone to have such wealth of knowledge and not share it.
Come on and
That's
speak,
selfishness.
Erica. Ah,
And I will always say, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to
that's
sit
it. That's a
amongst
big line.
greatness. And I think there's so many people out there who attain knowledge, but they do it because they want to be the smartest person in the room. They want to look good.
Say
They
it
want to
ain't.
sound good. No, no, no,
No good.
no. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to learn from the people around learning. I want to turnkey that information, and I want to grow people. So at that
Wow.
moment, when I transitioned to where I am now, I began to realize my purpose. And my purpose really is to grow people. And I enjoy
That is
every
so
moment of it.
amazing. Listen, that it's a blessing to wake up and do what you absolutely love, and not just that. Know that it's like a ripple effect. Like they
Mhm.
say, like throwing a stone in a water in a lake, and you watch it just, like it's God. It's a
Mhm.
gift. It's a
Mhm.
gift. So,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, whoo, I got chills now. All right. So now, the district you are in now,
Mhm.
explain. So you're in Malvern now, right?
No, but um, I'm not permitted to say what district.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay. All right. So
just
let
simply
me ask
because,
this.
yeah.
No, that's fine. Let me ask this.
Mhm.
The environment that you are in now
Mhm.
compared to Hempstead,
Mhm.
because we went to a predominantly black school, growing up.
Right.
So,
Right.
do you think
Right.
being exposed in college is what also kind of broaden your horizons to be bold enough to teach and to lead in diverse environments and diverse districts?
Um, y- yes and no. I think that
Explain.
my I think that my personality um is one of being very accepting, um up for a challenge, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Okay.
So it's funny you asked that question, because when I first started as an administrator in the district that I'm in now, I remember having phone conversations with parents, right? And I'm on the phone and I'm like, yes, at that time my maiden name was Banks. And I'm like, hi, this is Miss Banks. I'm calling because whatever. And, I need you to come up and see me. So the parent would get there and would say, my secretary would say, oh, give me a second. And we'll walk them into my office and they would look at me and say, I'm here, Miss Banks. You're the woman I spoke to on the phone. And I'm, yes, hi, you know, but it was,
Hi.
yeah. And it's funny because, I would go to
Woo.
conferences and I would be the only brown girl in the room.
Right, right.
And I think that my personality and that mindset of, ain't nobody gonna make babysit in the corner,
Okay.
kind of helped me in leading where I lead. you know. So it's interesting. So
Yes.
yes, it's a
I love
diverse
it.
district, ever changing, but kids are kids. It's the adults.
I
It's
know
really
that's
not
right.
the children. You know,
Say
it's
that.
the same struggles, believe it or not, where there may be
Right.
pockets here, you know, and in other districts, it may be a larger. It's the same struggles, and kids are kids.
Right. Right. That's a fact.
Hmm.
Wow. So now, okay, you're leading people who are probably what's some of the craziest what's a crazy thing that happened to you being that you were the youngest or you were the only brown person, like what's something that sticks out that you're like, oh yeah, this happened to me.
That so as an administrator, you have to observe teachers, and
Hmm.
some are unannounced and some are announced. And I remember in the earlier years there, teachers would come sit at my round table for their pre-observation conference, and that's kind of like where we discuss what they're going to be teaching, um, any strategies they want to try,
Hmm.
anything they want me to particularly with help with, etc. And I remember not one but a few in different ways would say, "Oh, you really are smart," or "Oh, you really do know
Oh,
what you're talking about," or and so for me,
oh,
I'm like, is it because I'm black? Is it because I'm young? Is it
child.
because I'm a woman? Where
Okay, what we doing?
where where
People
where are we
bold.
going with this? But oh, very, oh, very, and would laugh it off like, but they all had their different ways of saying it. But for me, it meant the same thing, but it was the
Right.
amazement of it all. And in my head, I'm like, well, how do you think I got here? I'm
Hmm.
confused. Interviews,
Okay.
but so yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now I remember when I went away to college, when you shared your story about the academics part, that was very familiar.
Mhm.
Um, and I decided to graduate with my daggone friends. I was supposed to have graduated early too, but that's a whole other situation. But I remember being in class and like in particular like a Spanish class, and I'm like, oh, pff, I got A's in Spanish. This is nothing, and I felt like a fish out of water. Certain classes
Mhm.
I had energy, like I literally felt like a fish out of water, and it was it
Mhm.
kind of had me a little you know like I don't know what to do right now because I don't want to reveal that I don't
Mhm.
know what's happening. It was a very sticky
Mhm.
situation. So being that you experienced that, how do you deal with talking to the students that they don't really know about how the preparation that they need to go into a
Mhm.
whole dimension, because when you go away you're meeting people from everywhere. So what are some
Mhm.
of the things that you try to impart in the students, in particular those who have a desire to go to college, like going away to college, because it's just different. Like what are
Mhm.
some of the things, the advice that you
Mhm.
share with them?
Mhm. So, as far as college is concerned, you know, I'm blessed in the fact that for the majority of my students, that is the end goal, right? They come from middle class households, upper middle class households where they know that the expectation is college,
Right.
right? So, my conversation a lot of the times is less about the expectation of college. It's more about what do you think that you're going to get out of college,
Right.
and putting in the work now. Because for some reason, students think that it'll come.
They have time. Mm-hmm.
It'll come.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't study now, but those skill sets it'll come
It's so
later.
true. It's so true. Mm-hmm.
And we talk a lot about career and college readiness. And I think that it's important for not only the educators, but for parents to start talking about career and college readiness at the middle school level. I
Yes.
don't want you to have your whole life figured out. You don't have to tell
Mm-hmm.
me that you're going to major in this and major in that. I'm very impressed with um, the generations behind us that figured out, I may not need to go to college in order to be successful. So basically, too, is how do you measure success?
Right. Right.
What does that look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the types of questions and conversations that we have, myself and my guidance department. How do you measure success? Where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do? How do you think you're going to get there? So for us, it's more of the path to getting there than whether or not you're going to get there, because the majority of them, they will.
They will.
We have a 98% graduation rate. Out of that
Awesome.
98%, many of them go to either 2 or 4 year colleges, universities. So it's not about getting, the fact that they're going to go. It's about the path that they're going to take. And what I'm seeing more and more is, listen, these kids are smarter than we were.
Right.
Period. Period.
Period.
The
I
problem
agree.
is the application. We didn't have to think. We didn't have to. I mean, we had to think, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have Google. We didn't have all these
Mm-hmm.
these engines where it tells us everything we need to know.
Right. Right.
So we had to put what we were learning and use it and apply it, right? And I think, what our students lack now is kind of like that application, that text to world,
Mm. Right.
text to self, like all of the things, they read it, they understand it, but they don't know how to apply it to the everyday because
Right.
they don't have to. So we do a lot of talking about the application piece.
Okay.
How do you apply what you're learning now to what you're going to need later on
Right.
in the future?
Okay. So what how do you deal with the parents? Like, do you ever encounter situations where okay, like how can I say, for example, like I remember in Hempstead we had, our guidance counselors, and you would be in conversation amongst your friends and you will come back excited like, oh, I put in for this and I did this and I spoke to them about this because now I think I want to major in this. And your friends is like, wait, what are you talking about? And they had
Wait,
a
you knew
whole
who your guidance counselor was?
yeah.
Oh,
That's
I I don't know who I don't know who my guidance counselor was.
And that's what
Um,
I was gonna bring up because I remember them looking like you did. Like,
mhm,
well, because I
mhm.
believe it went through alphabetical order. So if you let
If she's out there, hey, he or she, I don't, I don't remember. I'll be quite honest with you. And it's sad because
that's
it
not
was kind
funny.
of like there were
Woo!
only a few career paths that I knew. You were either going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher,
Right.
and there was one more: doctor, lawyer, teacher, and it was something else. But pretty much that kind of was like, oh, cosmetologist, and it was that was it. When I see the work that the counselors do in the district that I'm in, and
Mm-hmm.
when I see some of um, the possibilities that are out there, I'm like, oh wow, I wish I would have known about that. I probably would have. I mean, just even thinking about being an engineer. I mean,
Wow.
don't get me wrong. I'm happy where I landed, but it would have been nice
To have the exposure,
to
the
have the
conversation.
exposure.
Yeah.
It would have been nice.
Wow.
But yeah, so I don't know who my guidance counselor was. I got into college, but I think a lot of that was kind of my mother and I researching and doing it on,
Yeah.
like, for example, knew nothing about HEOP. I don't know if you know about HEOP. I was a HEOP girl.
Explain what HEOP is, please.
So, um, HEOP basically is an academic financial program that assists students who come from low income families. And they have a threshold. But along with that, low income also has to be grades, meaning you have to have the grades to qualify,
Right.
but you also have to be that student that's not like an A student,
Right.
where you would get academic scholarship. So back then, I don't know how much it is now, but back then CW Post was like 30,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if my parents were making 30,000 a year. So imagine that, right?
Right.
And
Wow.
I remember something happening where it was kind of like left up in the air of whether or not I was going to attend post.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so distraught. I was like, I worked hard. Like I performed. If my mother came in here, if she remembers, she probably I performed. I'm telling you, I'm not going to college if I can't go. Right. Um, and she happened, not even she, God happened to send an angel, Miss Jan, who was a financial aid advisor, and she got to talking to my mom, and I don't know what happened, but I remember Miss Jan mentioning something about HEOP, and she explained it to my mother, and I applied, and she said, "Well, you qualify financially. Your grades may be a little too high, but let me take it to the director."
Right.
And let me show you. It's so funny, 6 degrees of separation. So she takes it to the
Say that.
director, and he says, "Come in, let's have an interview." So I go in, we have this interview, and he's like, "Well, why should I allow you to be in this program?" So you know me, I was ready. Boop, 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 boop,
Okay.
boop. That's why.
Why'd you
And
ask?
he said, "Well, the last 16-year-old we had, you know, basically destroyed the program, that type of thing." And I gave him an Erica Banks answer, like, "Well, I ain't the Hempstead."
Mm-hmm.
Mommy's like kicking me under the table, like, "What's your mom?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not the last 16-year-old you had." So, long story short, he accepted me into HEOP, and I was able to go through my undergrad at CW Post in HEOP. We called HEOP and HEOP. If it
Awesome.
had not been for HEOP, I don't know. But let's fast forward.
Wow.
My teaching experience in Amityville, this director comes walking through the door. "I'm here to see Miss Banks." I said, and I look and I said, "Oh, hi." He says, "Oh," he says, "Erica, my son is in your class." The same director who allowed me into the program against his better judgment,
Right.
I ended up teaching his son in Amityville.
I love it. It's God.
Things like that just happen. It just happened.
He's so intentional.
So intentional.
Oh my gosh.
Karen Barnes. You remember Miss Barnes, who was our cheerleading coach with
I'm
Lori
like, I
Huber?
know that name.
Mm-hmm. Karen Barnes is one of my English teachers at the district that I teach, that I'm an administrator at now.
I love it.
It's
I
when I
love it.
tell you, it's like
It's
you
divine
you
connections. It's God.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah.
Can't with this.
But if anybody's here listening that have children that's going into college that are in Hempstead or any other neighboring district, and financially it will be a burden and financially you cannot afford it, I will tell you to reach out to that financial advisor. This is if your guidance counselors aren't telling you about these programs.
Right.
Reach out to the financial advisors and you ask them about HEOP.
Love it. HEOP.
It may change the course of your children's lives.
Because we don't know what we don't know.
You don't
And
know what you don't know.
it's such an injustice to us to not share what you know that can benefit others,
Mm-hmm.
especially because we know there's so many students who, like you said, how you was performing with the I work so hard. You know, there's so many who really did work so hard
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't get a chance because they wasn't given the information.
Mm-hmm. Girl, I perform.
Because I'm telling you, I remember being excited because listen, you know, I'm from Terrace Avenue. My whole thing was I gotta get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
That
Yep.
was my words to myself. I gotta do something different. And I'll share this real quick and I'm gonna try to wrap this up. I wish we could do a two-part with you. But I remember talking, I think I shared this on a live one time, to a childhood friend at the time. And I had an argument with my mom. And so I'm just mad, girl. I'm mad. I'm all in my feelings. So we go out, I'm outside, and I clearly, you know, my face tells it all. And the person was like, well, what's the matter? And I'm like, I'm over this. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, whatever college I get into, the first one, I'm out of here. Like, I was all crazy. And I'm being dramatic and I'm done. And yeah, that's right. You know, I'm hyping my own self up. And I say, because there's way more than what this is. There's more to the block. There's more than this block. Like, I'm just going off, child. And it gets quiet. And the person goes, well, what's more than the block? And my head must have turned like the exorcist. I was like, what's more than the block? I said, oh no, no. I really got to get out of here. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole world we don't know about. And
Mm-hmm.
the craziest part about that is that particular person is still
On the
on the
block.
block. You know,
Mm-hmm.
creating children, and
Mm-hmm.
now their children are on the block. And now
Mm-hmm.
where I work, I'm locking their children in. And do you understand what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Mm.
Just because of the mindset and the thinking, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, success is my revenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But you
Yeah.
also came from an environment, you had praying parents, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you had God
Mm-hmm.
who showed you your gifting, who showed you your purpose. So for those who don't have that, you know, it's hurtful. It's hurtful to watch. You know, it's hurtful to know and understand that
Mm-hmm.
some of them don't know they got a guidance counselor at school
Yeah.
who's supposed to reach out to them and
Yeah.
ask them, what are your plans? What are your thoughts? What are you going to do next? There's
Mm-hmm.
none of that. So
Yeah.
they end up not knowing what to do. You know, my hat's you know, I have such a heart for the educators because when the parents are not, how do you call it, present,
Mm-hmm.
the educators, I'm not saying the educators have to be the parents, but they got to have something going on that can be like that lasting impression that they remember, like because of the conversation, like your intern said, if it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for you, Miss Banks, I wouldn't have dot dot dot. Thank you, Miss Banks. If it wasn't for me being your intern, I wouldn't have dot dot dot. And you know, Hempstead should have that same energy. They
Mm-hmm.
should have 90 whatever percent
Mm-hmm.
graduation,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
rate, you know, percentile. We should have the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen after this live, but I feel something's going to happen. And so I want to personally thank you, you know, for coming on, you know, and sharing your story and sharing your gift. You know, I know it's changed lives. And, you know, I hope you really understand how vital you are, you know, in the community, you know, in your family. I mean, you know, just tell us really quick, if you don't mind, you know, sharing, you know, the successes of your siblings,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. So I will have to say that it again, it goes back to my parents, literally to raise your kids. For the most part, they moved to Westbury after a while, but to raise your children for the most part um, in the projects, um, in an area where you didn't see much success, right? And for all five of your children to be college educated, that in itself is an amazing job, and
Yes,
my
it is.
hat goes off to my mother and my father for, like I said, setting those expectations
Yes.
for us. So I'll start from the the bottom up. So my brother, Eric Banks, he is a phys ed teacher at a district here on Long Island. He's also a life coach, as well as a minister at CCC. My baby sister, Karan, is a social worker. She just got her master's, I want to say a couple of months ago.
Congratulations.
Yes, doing amazing things. My sister, Nicole, has her degree from Stony Brook. She majored
Great
in
school.
economics, and opened up her own business. So she has a hair braiding business.
Go
Awesome,
ahead.
awesome, awesome.
All
hmm
right.
And my sister Joy also went to CW Post. I believe Bridecliff. I can't recall the other ones, but she has her bachelor's degree, and she's a teacher by heart. Oh my gosh! And she worked in a library for many years.
Right, right.
So we're all doing our thing, and trying to um, keep the legacy going,
Yeah.
and actually, again, lead by example, so
Right.
our children will
Yes.
understand and know that this is the reality, and
Yes, this is our normal.
this is what hard work looks like.
Absolutely.
And even if college isn't, I believe in career in college readiness. So even
Yes.
if college isn't the end goal for them, they do understand that in whatever they do, do it with a purpose.
Yes.
Be intentional.
Yes.
If I could leave any word, it's be intentional, and believe in the power of yet.
Yes.
So I always tell my kids, tell my siblings, my brother and I, we have this thing called let's talk about it. And you know I always talk about the power of yet. I'm not there, but yet.
Yes.
As long as you can put yet behind it, that means that there's always a possibility.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right. Really quick. Explain your role with the Hispanic students. Explain your role just quickly.
um I would say that it's funny you said that, because one of my guidance counts today, I had a little emergency at school, and I had to go with one of my students and um, to the hospital. And the parent was explaining to me, broken English, but was explaining to me that they were just there and what didn't happen and they didn't do this. And I turned around to the nurse and I said, um, I need you to make this make sense to me.
Right.
Why didn't this happen? And I imagine that it's going to happen now, that type of thing. And my guidance counselor said, oh my gosh, what are you, an advocate? She goes, here, she goes, this is so awesome, you're an advocate. So I would say that I try to be, as well as I would for any other child, be an advocate.
Mhm.
And was centered around Hispanic females, because they pretty much are the body really speaks on, and nobody really
Say that.
understands their plight, right? So when you do research, if you were to go into your search engine and you want to find research on African American males, you'll find it, because everybody wants to fix it, right? They want
Right.
to lessen the achievement gap, which is awesome, right?
Right. Right. Right.
If you were to, Google African American women or young women, or girls, you'll find tons of literature. Same as Hispanic males. But if you were to, and I know this because it was very difficult, when you go to research about the Hispanic females, very little research,
Wow. That's interesting.
you know, um, and in just observing and being in education, I wanted to know, because, expectation is about 90% of the reality of student success, right? So if you expect them to succeed, they're going to succeed,
Yes.
period. So I wanted to know, how much did teacher expectation affect the achievement of Hispanic female students?
Wow.
So my focus was on that. But to go back to your question, I would say, just like any other student, I think that I'm an advocate for our Hispanic students as well.
I love that. Look, you're gonna have me Googling. I'm kind of curious now. No, it's interesting because I was at a conference recently and the young lady was explaining that it was about hair. Her texture of hair, whatever. I believe she was Hispanic and black or something like that. And she's like, everywhere I went, no one was taking me serious because I was making, hair for us. And there was no stuff for hair like mine. So I made
Hmm.
my own. So that's so interesting that she's saying that.
Hmm.
You're going to give me a little bit of homework.
Yeah.
Okay. I love
Yeah. And
that.
with research, you have to support your research and your
Mhm.
study with research that's out there. And there were a few times I was coming up against a stumbling block, because
Wow.
there, whereas you can research so many other topics and get 400 articles, books, or whatever, that wasn't happening. And then some of the things that I was coming up, that was coming up, had no substance.
Mm,
So
wow.
that's what I did.
I got homework. All right. This is my first episode having homework, child. I love it. I love it. Listen, I love to learn. So this is fine with me. But listen,
Mhm.
thank you so much. What there's so much I want to ask with the time. Um,
Aw.
what would you say to mm, boy, how can I word the question? How can I word the question? Let me ask this first.
Mhm.
Um, being the oldest, and now with it just being your mom now, how how was it? How can I explain? Because what happens is, they say sometimes we switch roles with our
Mhm.
parents. Our
Mhm.
parents take care of us, and then there's a time where we have to take care of them.
Mhm.
Um, what was that like? If you don't mind tapping into it, because I'm still dealing with holidays and stuff, not having my mom anymore. So I
Mhm.
I tend to kind of lean, you know, just for myself also.
Right.
How was it, or how is it rather, your family, how is the dynamics now connected to your mom now that your dad is, you know, your angel now?
Mhm. Yeah. So, we come from a very tight knit family. Um, of we're all we got. So I think that with that belief, it just magnified times 1,000. You know, and it's true. We're all that we have. And everybody has a role.
Right.
And talk about it all the time, and and in that role they do what they need to do, and they do what needs to be done. So just as much as we're a support system for my mother is a huge support system for us.
Mhm.
And she put in her time, so it's her time to actually um enjoy the fruits of her labor.
Right.
And shame on any child who see the necessity or the benefit or the immediacy in taking care of their parent. But
Absolutely.
and don't get me wrong, I do know that not everybody has that same dynamic. So I'm certain
Right. 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 Right.
ones that the mothers didn't take care of them. Y'all work on that yourselves and through therapy or whatever, and trying to break those generational curses.
Say that.
So I don't want to just throw it out like that's everybody's. I know it's not. Um, but
Right.
if your parent was good to you, it's time for you to be good to them. And so
Amen.
that's where we're at, but I am looking for a husband for her, 'cause,
She's like, why are we on the subject? That was funny. That was funny. I absolutely love it. I love it.
yeah,
Now, quickly, last question. Last second to last question. Second to last question. What is some advice that you would give the parents? Um, I don't know if you're an advocate or big on counseling, but some of our children and parents went through a lot during the pandemic. What is some advice, you would give the
mm,
parents connected to, the mental state and, you know, getting back into the normalcy, which is still not really normal because we're still dealing with the pandemic. But now that they're back in school, what's some of the things, you would advise the parents?
mm. I would advise the parents that they need to be present and listen and understand that these babies are hurting. They're going through their own social emotional issues, and that
Absolutely.
can't take for granted that they're just talking, or they just say this, or they're too young. um, we need to pay closer attention to our children, and
Mhm.
once you realize that there is an issue, you need to give your child, or get your child, should I say, the help that they need. One of
Right.
my dear friends, who we went to school with, Alana Ricks. I don't know if you remember Alana,
Of
but
course I do. Our kids go to the same school.
Atlanta is my
Hmm.
school. Um, and we talk about the need for more mental health professionals, and the need for parents to tap into their child's mental health as well as their own. That
Absolutely.
day,
Absolutely.
day and age of what happens in my house stays in my house, or you know um,
Let it go, boo.
therapy. Um, those days are over.
Yeah. They need to be over.
Those days are over, and I think that is something, yeah, that your child help. And
Yeah.
two, I think what happens should be that when our children do need help, we take it personally, and so a lot
Yeah.
of us get past our ego to understand that, yeah, you may play a small part, right? Because sometimes you're a trigger, don't even know you're a trigger, right?
Right.
Sometimes things you do affect your child. Even the way we grew up and how we raised them, and how our parents raised us may affect how we raise them. Um,
Mhm.
but we have to get past that. And what I'm starting to notice, or what I've noticed, is that a lot of times parents don't get their children a reflection of their parenting. And I
Right. Say
always
that,
say, when I
Erica.
do
Help
meet with
somebody. Yeah.
when I do meet with parents, this ain't about you. This is about you. So I think if I were to leave anything with the parents, is get your children the help they need so they can be a better them. And this isn't about you,
Right.
but I'll
Amen.
be they're hurting.
They are. They're hurting. They are hurting. Do you have anything? Oh my God, I was supposed to have my last question. But do you have do you have, do you have, in my house, I believe in meditation. Um, my kids are like emotional kids, and I help them to understand that you're a black man. It is okay to show your emotion. It is okay
Yes.
that, if something's going on and your eyes watering, what's the matter? What's happening? I'm not gonna make you feel crazy because you just
Mm-hmm.
cried. Something's going on. Let's see what it is. But with that,
Mm-hmm.
I also, I teach them about meditation. You know, is there a thing? I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Um, I feel that they need to implement that in school, even if some people
Well,
don't believe in like yoga.
we do. We have a mindfulness space. We have mindfulness Mondays.
Right,
And I know on the elementary level they do it a lot more, because of course, they have a more time to do
right.
it. So it's funny because Atlanta does do our mindfulness Mondays. So
Wow.
we do offer that to our students.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Hmm.
All right. Other people who do not, y'all hear this? Yeah,
Hmm.
we have to really take, our mental health really, really serious, especially at a time like this. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on, and like I said, I have such a heart, I got a heart for the kids, period. But I have such a heart for you guys, the educators, because you're so vital. That's why I don't know. I don't know who we need to write, but I know some of y'all need to be getting paid way more than what I get paid. And so if there's something going on where I need to put my name on a petition, I'm down. You can reach out to me. Now I'm so serious. Like we said earlier, a lot of the stuff that they go through now, we didn't go through. Kids are physically beating up teachers.
Hmm.
Like they
Hmm.
are disrespectful.
Hmm.
We had our little riffraffs in school, but we didn't have like an influx of students just literally cussing out teachers
Hmm.
or looking like they want to square up with teachers. This is a normalcy now.
Yeah, but
And these people don't get paid enough.
we have to that it's okay to do that. So that's where building those homeschool relationships, and I think that is the difference. Those homeschool relationships were there. So
Right.
kind of like, listen, if you acted up in school or you did something, you knew that the teacher was calling home. You knew.
Right.
Listen, I tell them all the time, which is a whole different bowling. I used to do home visits as a teacher.
Hmm.
I was in East New York, Brooklyn, knocking on doors. Okay. Um, and they don't really do that anymore. I just
Right.
told a parent the other day. I said, well, if I have to call you again, I may have to come see you. And she was like, come see me. I said, oh yeah, I'm the one that I do home
I do
visits.
that.
I do
I'm that
that.
one.
I do that. So a lot of it we can't only blame on the students. We can't only blame on the young people. We
Of course.
have to hold these adults accountable. You you know
Right. Say that, Erica.
to be friendly, but we're not their friends. We
Facts.
mentors, and
Right.
that goes from teachers to parents, everybody in between. So I think that a large one of the larger issues is the social aspect and the dynamics that
Right.
we have is just different. So I think that we need to go back to holding the adults accountable for adulting.
Say that.
Because there's not a student that I've encountered that thought that they were going to hit me.
Okay.
And clear, I don't play with children, So
Right. No, it's true. I'm laughing, but yes, it's
mhm,
true. It's so true. But
mhm,
I'm my prayer is that, someone heard something that you said and we just see change. Like you said, we have to be the change that we desire to see. It literally, not even being cliche, it starts with us. Like it absolutely starts with us. So once again, I know we got started late, but this is exactly why. Because we need to hear your story. That's exactly why. I know when the enemy mad, child. That's why I was like, we getting this thing going. Say, what's up? What's up? As my pastor will say, I woke up in your camp, honey, because I know I'm a child of the king. I said, we getting this thing going tonight. That's for sure. So,
And we
just
did.
once again, thank you so much. Huh? Yeah, thank you so much, for taking our time to come on, this platform. This is what it's about. I really want to encourage, empower, and educate people. It's a heart thing. And, it's time. It's time for us to do the work,
Yeah.
whether it's in
Yeah.
ourselves or just encouraging one another or sharing information that can change a life or lives.
Right.
We have to do better. We have to do better. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your journey.
Any questions that you may get from people and they want answered, I will certainly be able to answer them. If I don't know the answer, I'll tap into my resources, to help, anyone who needs help in the educational realm and trying to just figure out what,
Awesome.
college, whether it's, just communication with teachers, administration, whatever they need.
Love it, love it, love it. So just in case people want to reach out to you and they don't want to go through me, that's the thing. I'm just this person right here. I want, like you said,
Mhm.
bridge. I want to bridge relationships. I'll step out. I did my part. You guys connect with, with Dr. Taylor. Please connect with her. She's a wealth of information. She's bold. She's transparent. She's gonna tell you what's what and what's not. So, my prayer is that you guys definitely tap in to this platform, rewatch this, whatever question that you have. Please reach out to her. Our children are the children of
Mhm.
today. Our parents are still creating life. So we need to help everyone that's involved in reference to
Mhm.
education and our community. So please, please, please tap in and reach out to her. You can email her at ebanks, EBANKS 26 at hotmail.com. I will be sharing the information on my YouTube page as well as my Facebook page. Thank you to everyone who stuck it out with us on tonight. Yeah, I know we're a little late, but God still gets the glory. Amen. So, I wanna
Amen.
specifically thank your mother, for raising an amazing woman, amazing children.
Oh,
Like,
thank
that's a
you.
blessing. That is a
Mhm.
blessing. Like, hats off to her. We continue to pray, that she just continues to be strong and continue to be a vessel, not just in you guys' lives, but in the kingdom of God. Like, we need our mothers. We need our
Mhm.
mothers in the church, honey. So, just thank you so much, to her for her example and her prayers, because that's
Amen.
that's the manifestation of prayers when your children
Yeah.
all educated, raising their children right. That's the manifestation of prayers. Amen.
Mhm.
So thank you, thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. Is there any other platform where they can reach out to you that you would like to
Mhm.
share? You can share now if you like.
Mhm. No, the email is best.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Erica. We have
You're
to talk
welcome.
after this. We have to talk after this. I will figure it out. I love to eat food, so we might have to go eat or do something. Have
Absolutely.
a fake reunion since my class never had
Exactly.
one. All right, matter of fact, I'm
I'm
throwing
for
that
it.
out there. We never had a reunion. We need to figure that out, y'all. Too many of us that's
Absolutely.
actually smart people that we can't just get one day together. Like,
I
we got to figure that
know,
out.
I know. And we're listen, our classes are doing it. Like when I
I
look
heard.
at we're doing the Tina Lake, all these people, and I'm like, listen, Felicia, Nicole, like Kiana, like I
Everybody.
follow all of them, and I'm like, wow, our generation,
Amazing. Amazing.
we're really doing it, So
Yeah,
kudos and hats off
we don't get the
to.
credit. Yeah, we don't get the
Mhm,
credit we deserve. A lot of us are doing very, very well, and not
mhm,
just well in our own lives, but our journeys are resonating to other people's lives. We're
mhm,
helping to change other people's lives. You are changing other people's lives every time they
mhm.
encounter you, and they're
Oh,
like,
thank
"Listen."
you.
They're like, "Listen,
Yeah,
she was
yeah.
on me." She was not playing with me about going to school, so I went to school. That's a big deal.
I always tell you, you'll hate me now, but you'll love me later.
Yes,
It
absolutely,
is what it is.
absolutely,
Yeah, but we
absolutely.
also, and I want to leave this too. We need to support our people. We need to.
Yes,
If there's somebody we went to school with that has their own business, I don't care if they're
yes,
selling a cupcake, a piece of
right,
tape. You know,
absolutely.
we need to support our people.
You're welcome. Thank you for listen. Y'all about to make me cry. Child. I ain't got time to be crying today. But listen, I'm so thankful to you. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just praying that you just get an influx of people. That's my prayer. You know, I get, okay. I don't play about prayer, honey. Okay. So my prayer is that you receive an influx of not just love and accolades, but people really want to understand what can they do next for their child, or me as,
Awesome.
or just being transparent and loving that child enough to reach out to you and say, listen, I know I haven't been the best parent. Where can I start from here?
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
whatever the resources are, you know, I want to do better because my
Hmm.
child deserves it. You know,
Yeah.
but I've been giving him, it's been a dishonor, me
Hmm.
letting my ego get in the way. So, you know, Dr. Taylor, what steps can I take next to not fix it but do something to make it better? That's my
Hmm.
prayer for, you know, for you.
Aw,
All
thank
right.
you.
You
I'm so very proud of you.
thank you, thank you,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.
Keep praying for my child. Keep praying for
Always.
me. Keep praying for me. Keep praying for me. All right. All right.
Okay.
Everyone, have a good evening. Thank you to everyone who came on tonight. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Hot Mic with Lady She. If you have a story that is significant, if you have a story that you feel that you will be a good fit for this platform, please email me at hotmicwladyshe@gmail.com, or you can reach me on any other social media platforms. Thank you so much. Listen, we are greater together, honey. We got
Mm-hmm.
this. We got this.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. All
All
right,
right.
everyone, have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.